Hello, this is Linda from Stamping School. Thanks for stopping by. So this is part 2 of the Storybook suite. Actually, not the suite, just the bundle and the designer paper. Part 2, because last week I did 4 projects and I'll show you 4 more this week. Last week we just made these cute, this designer paper is so sweet. This is an easel card that we did last week. I'll link to these down below to the video if you missed it. This is using just the cutouts from the paper. A little baby card. This is just using a circle die. And this one was the wedding card that I did with the frames, and I showed how to antique those. So really fun. All right, let's do 4 more. Before I forget, I forgot to show you which dies, if you do get the dies of the Storybook Friends, which dies will cut out some of this designer paper. So, you know, last week I showed all the parts and pieces, but there's a stamp set and then that you can color and do things with. And there are also dies that cut all these little critters out. And there's greetings, little sentiments, wall, a carrot field, a little house, some sentiments, and then these 3 frame dies that go along with the animals too. So in some of the designer paper, this is the one that has a strawberry patch on the back. Yes, they do have some that cut these out. Not a ton, but they have quite a few. So if you do get the dies, some of these do cut out. This one cuts out. This little girl right here. Now, if you want to cut these 2 together, make sure you come in and trim them apart because these dies are too close together. If you ran it together, they could damage each other, right? The dies cannot be touching when they go through the machine because things happen. So cut these apart and then die cut those. There's a little bunny right here. And this one, which is interesting about this one, let me bring this off. This little guy right here with the radish, he works, but then there's another one in the opposite direction that if they just would have put it in the other direction, that would have worked. So if you're really tenacious, you can cut this out and put it up against a light and cut from the back side. This one's reversed. So lots of cute little images to cut out. And then I also showed you last week how to cut them out and make circles and things like that and go in and get them all. So in this designer paper set, the Storybook designer paper, my goal with these projects is that you can get just the paper and you don't have to have the dies. The dies are nice and the dies are fantastic if you want to have the ability to cut and color all of these little critters out, especially later on when the paper's not available. The dies are great and I love the frames, but if you want to just experience a little bit of the Storybook paper, then these 4 projects will work. All right, so I took a 3-inch piece up here of this cottage paper of where apparently all these cute little bunnies and chipmunks live. And so I did this card right here. So this is cut out with the arches. So I went in with the paper and just found something that fit. You know, I love these arch dies. So you can go in and find which bunnies are going to work, pencil that out, and then carefully go in, trim around, and then run that through the machine if you want. So this is Old Olive with a side fold. All the measurements will be in the PDF for you, as usual. So this is 3 inches by 5 1/4. And so you only have to break it down from 12 by 12 paper. You get quite a few 3-inch pieces out of it. And then that plaid paper that I showed you last week, it's so great. It comes in the suite that coordinates with all the Storybook stuff. And it's 6 by 6, 48 sheets, and all different patterns. Plaids on one side, checks on the other. So I did a little piece of this at the bottom. Now this one is 1 inch by 5 1/4. And then I've got a little piece that will go right in between a piece of olive or whatever you want. But olive just sort of worked well to hide that little seam right there. 1/2 inch piece. And then here's the die cut. Now, there is a die for this bunny, so if you want to cut him out and pop him up on something, you can, but this is just so easy to do. those layering arches, which I will link below. I've been using them so much. As you know, you're probably sick of hearing about it. But look how nice they are. I just cut each one so you could see the different sizes and the layering, how nice they layer together. And that just goes on here. Now, for the sentiment, what I did the Sun Bunny Loves You, and I poked 2 holes. It's hard to keep up with which sentiment dies are still available. They just keep coming and going. So this one I know is okay. It's from the Country Corners. And if you just take a little, like a 1/8 inch hole punch and punch 2, now you can just tie the ribbon on. You don't have to punch the holes, but I'll show you, it makes kind of a neat little extra something something. Go through the hole on this side and then come back up through this side with that yellow ribbon, which is not coming back until January 27th, but it's pretty. So it looks like this, but I'm going to bring this end around here, glue or dimensionals, either one, on the back here. And then just tie a little bow. Just an extra little something something. And then tie my bow. So if you want the tails of your bow to face out, then you have to turn it and tie it facing that way. So for instance, I want the tails to come this way, so I'm going to turn the card this way and then tie around the back. This is way more than I need as far as ribbon goes, but you can see here how it looks. So then your tails are facing out. If I were to tie it this way, my tails are facing that way. So, okay, this is the card. A few sequins on there and a little pocket on the inside. This is going to go as a card to someone I know, and I'm going to put a little gift card in here. So, it's so cute. And there's one of the little pop-outs from the designer paper. So all of these are all die cuts, and there's 2 whole sheets of them, and they're all ready to go. They're already painted, colored, everything. Really, so many cute things if you love this Beatrix Potter kind of feel for this storybook. Somebody asked me how to use all these parts and pieces. So this one I cut out of here. Oh, I forgot to put the carrots. I cut some carrots and stuck them on the bunny. This one just has 1 carrot down here laying at his feet that I cut out from the designer paper. I just found my carrots laying here. So if we use this one right down here, this is 3 inches by 4 inches naturally, which is a nice size. They made all these. And so look how cute this little chipmunk card is. It's such cute paper. So I use the postage die in espresso. This is 3 by 4, so that makes for a real easy layering. Right here, I'm going to bring it up just a touch. So I've got a little room down here to put a sentiment. I'm going to grab the espresso, put this kind of down toward the bottom, right there. Whoop, there. Hello Friend, that comes in the stamp set, the storybook set. Add this right at the bottom. Pretty easy. Or you could just punch a sentiment, I suppose. And then a little blue, the Lost Lagoon here across there, just to kind of divide the seam up, bring attention to the sentiment. And then I just added a little bit of linen thread there. A piece of Lost Lagoon onto an espresso card. And if you want, you can do just 1 inch of that plaid paper, or you can do 2 inches. And because most of that is covered up, I think I might go in and save some of that paper. I mean, we'll use it for something, right? So we might as well. Look, that's a whole big piece I can use for something else. Don't tell me you don't do that. I'm sure you do too. Now, in my written measurements, I'm going to say it's 2 inches by 5 1/4, but you know that you could just cut that down a little bit. You can pop this up on dimensionals or just stick it down. I didn't add my linen thread, so I'm not going to tack it down all the way. And then add one of those cute little gold butterflies or something right there while the chipmunk is smelling the flowers. Super cute. This next one is like a fun fold in a way. basically, I made a short card and then I put a little tab over top of it just to make it look a little different. So it wasn't just a card with a rectangle in the middle. Give it a little more interest. And this is using the ducks right here. Again, 3 inches by 4 inches. So you just cut that out and layer it on espresso paper. Let me just show you the artwork. And I like that the goose has the hat. So when I was growing up in northern Michigan, we had a white farm goose named Cecil. He was very loud and obnoxious, but I still loved him. I'm going to change this slightly. On this one, I glued it down here. It just doesn't, it's good, but it doesn't open all the way. I love how it looks closed, but I want it to open a little better. And I thought, well, if I put a seam here, then it would open better, and I don't have to glue it all the way to the bottom, which adds a little weight. I'm going to cut it off up here. So let's try it. This is the main card base right here. This is my working piece that I was using. So 5.5 by 7 in Lost Lagoon, and then turn it to landscape position, 3.5 inches on the score line. And the piece that comes over is 3.5 by 5 3/4. And then you're gonna put it in there and score it at 4 1/4 and 5. So it's like 3/4 of an inch each. So we want that. All right, let's try this. So here's the so it's 3.5 inches tall when you fold it, okay? And then this piece is gonna go over, and we're only gonna glue this bottom part. So let's see how it works. So here's my extra piece. I've got a piece on the bottom of tape, that good tear tape, and that line, oh, wait, before we do that, let's put our designer paper on. Oh, almost forgot. 2 1-inch pieces on each end, because that's gonna make it look pretty. These are just 1 inch by 3.5 inches. Here and here. Okay, now I can put the rest on. That plaid is so pretty, it's so soft and subtle. Okay, so the tape is on the bottom. It's gonna go flush to the bottom, right in between those 2 pieces of paper. And there might be a slight overlap, and that's okay, just like that. Now this piece is gonna fold over right here. So I've already got my tape here. So you've got 1 score line that's right above the card here. And that, I think, is gonna make the card open. Let's try it. Yeah. So now the card opens completely, see? And then it's a little lighter, so you've only got, I don't even know what to call this fold. I just sort of was playing around with stuff. So, but I do like the way that that now opens because that crease is there. So, and it still stands up on someone's desk. And then the adhesive goes across here, and this just goes on. And I like it up a little bit from the card, so it looks like that. And then I've got room for a sentiment down here. So it looks like this. I decided to do Easter on this one in crumb cake, and a little bit of that scallop ribbon, petal pink ribbon behind it. And on the inside, another one of those cute little die cuts and some of that paper. One more. Now this one is using one of the dies, the frame dies, but I'm going to shorten it. And you wouldn't have to use this die exactly if you don't want to get the dies and you're just getting the paper. You can, look around, put a round mirror right here, or around. I just thought I wanted it to look like they were in a house. It's like I said last week, if they're wearing clothes, they're in the house. So we're going to make wallpaper. Like this one. It's wallpaper. So there's the molding and there's their little floor. So I cut the frame out of Mossy Meadow and white also. If you use the regular basic white that's a little bit thinner, I can cut them together. So I cut the Mossy Meadow and the white layered together to get these two. Here is my wallpaper. That is from this one down here from that sheet. 3 by 4 again. But this one needs to be a little bit longer because you see we need to get the painting or the picture or the mirror, whatever that's going to be, and their little floor. So this one's a little bit longer. Goes right in the middle. And this is 3x4. And that goes right here. Crumb cake for their carpet or the wood floor. Be cute with a wood grain too, to make a little old wood floor. And then the baseboard has to go right here. I'm going to use my detailed glue. The reason I shortened the mirror originally was because I wanted it to be hanging, and I didn't know how big it was going to be. So I shortened it, and I'll show you how to shorten it. It looks a little funny, big like this, see, because it's so big. And now if you have a bigger sentiment and you want to use the whole thing, that would be fine. But the thank you very much comes in the Storybook stamp set. I'm just going to use Mossy Meadow, although espresso would look good too. I'm going to stamp this right up top. So that's about the size that I want it. So I'm just going to cut this down right to there. And then all I have to do is cut this and move it up to shorten it. So I'm going to glue this down in here first. I guess it doesn't really matter, but it sort of helps me kind of judge where that's going to be. And then this will be shortened up to here and here. I'm just going to add a little fine tip glue all around here, and that's the edge of my sign mirror. Now this one, I'm going to make this one a little bit shorter. The trick is you don't want it to be too short, right? A little overlap is okay. You don't want it too short so where you messed it up and there's a gap there. Now in this case, the seams are pretty well covered. You could keep this one longer down here. Actually, that probably would have been better. So if our guys are going to cover up this anyway, then we could really get away with overlapping this down here, just taking off a wee bit and just gluing that down, because these critters are going to cover up the seam anyway. All right, got a little bit of glue on that, and we're just going to line these edges back up. So it depends on how big your sentiment is. For me, it was smaller, so I wanted to make a little smaller frame. Now these guys came right from the die cut sheet, but I used the designer paper and the dies to cut out another pair. These two, aren't they cute? Oh, they're not quite tall enough. Well, that one will work. There we go. It barely reaches, but it works. So their little feet are on the ground and their ears cover up the seams. Now these low profile dots, if you haven't gotten them, they're part of the online exclusives. This has been cut down, but half of them are blush and half are gold, and they are low profile. They're so nice because there's not much height to them, but they really just show off a lot. So they're so, so pretty. Can you see them? How pretty they are? They're sort of translucent almost. They're very pretty. I want them in all colors. Stampin' Up! If you're listening. So I don't think what critters you put in here, they're all going to look great. I still am a little fond of this guy who's sweeping and she's knitting. A badger that knits is just too much fun. So there's the last four. I highly recommend the paper. If you have extra and you want to splurge on the dies, that'd be great. And of course, if you get the dies, you probably should get the stamp set too, because the paper will run out at some point. So paper, dies, and the stamp set, but definitely the paper. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.